So let's talk about Patrice. What do we know? Well, we know he's Apollo's friend and at times business partner. We know he's a veteran who served in Iraq, specifically Iskandaria, also known as Alexandria, and Fallujah, a city that dates back to the Babylonian era. Now, these are all brought up in the show. Iskandaria by Apollo, Alexandria is shown at the bumper sticker when they meet at the house, and again by Patrice himself when they're in his Batcave, and the Babylonian myth that's told about the house god by the narrator. We know that Patrice is as prickly as a cactus and is a bit scarred emotionally and doesn't really like to socialize. And we know he is a fan, the equivalent of a Facebook friend, of Baby Brian's tribute page. But here is something many of you may not know. He isn't just a fan of the tribute page. He's the group admin. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Did it sink in? So what is a group admin? Well, an admin is someone who, among other things, owns or creates the group. They have the most control over the group and manage all settings. And here's the big one. Admins can remove posts and remove or ban members from the group. Okay, now let's talk about what else we know, but keep in mind, he is the group admin of what is essentially a hate group that's attacking his friend and apparently his friend's seemingly deceased infant child. So, what we know is he has not taken down any of those nasty posts and showed Apollo the page knowing he would see those nasty posts when he was already kind of in a frail state. We know that he didn't tell Apollo about the group. We also know that he tells Apollo he is a fan and does not correct Apollo when he says angrily, William probably isn't a fan of the Baby Brian tribute page right before he storms off to go meet William at his car. Okay, so let's pause there for a second. Up until the point that we found out that Patrice was the admin of what is essentially a hate page, the three things we just mentioned could be chalked up to him being kind of a crappy friend. Unfortunately, he is the admin of a hate page, and there's more.
Is that it?
No, there's more. You see?
So what else do we know? We know that William knew Patrice's username is Green-Haired Harry, and we don't know how he knows that. We also know that Patrice gave William's info the all clear when Apollo and Patrice were in his Batcave. Despite the fact that there's a 10-year gap in his work history between 1984 and 1994. We also know they are both in the military and they're both tech experts. So this isn't boding very well for Patrice. Then we find out that Patrice is the one who told William to meet Apollo at the grief group, and apparently is notifying the tribute page when he checks in places, even though Apollo isn't a fan of the tribute page. Then at Patrice's house when they're having dinner, Patrice seems pretty skeptical about where Apollo got the book, To Kill a Mockingbird. And in my opinion, he seemed to already know. He was being kind of coy about asking. And after they had dinner, they go outside to have a talk. And Patrice is going to have a pretty serious conversation with him about it. And before they start the conversation, Patrice says, I'm going to break protocol, which could just be Patrice's way of saying that he's going to step out of their normal conversational comfort zone and talk about something serious. Or it could be that Patrice has an ulterior motive and the road that Apollo's going down doesn't really fit the narrative that they need right now. We also know that Patrice told Apollo to come to the book handoff with William because on the way to the car, Apollo tells him, I don't know why I need to come to this. And then Patrice tells him that when you're selling a book for $70,000, etc., etc. But the point is, Patrice seemed to want Apollo there, even though he didn't really need to be, because Patrice was the one who initially set up the sale. So now we get to the sound. When Apollo goes down into the basement in the house where they found To Kill a Mockingbird, and Patrice supposedly left after they parted ways, when Apollo gets to the bottom of the stairs, you hear this large bang or growl or some sort of, at least to me, on purpose noise. So take a listen, and it might be a little loud, so just adjust your volume. I don't want anyone to jump. So I'm not sure what it is, but you heard it, and you can write in the comments what you think it is. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's background noise, but to me it seemed on purpose and a little growly. I don't know, but it was just an odd noise that I had heard watching the episode again, and I'm curious to know what everyone thinks about it. Okay, so lastly, what does green hair Harry represent? No, I didn't clickbait you. I have an answer. And after finding out I wouldn't touch Patrice with a 39.5-foot pole. Get it? No? Maybe? Okay. It's the Grinch. Now hold on. I know you may be rolling your eyes, but I have evidence. On Patrice's Friend More page, he lives in Mount Crumpet. And where does the green-haired, very grumpy, antisocial Grinch live? Mount Crumpet. So, do I think that an apt description of Patrice is Grinchy? Yes. Do I think that it's coincidence that the Mount Crumpet is in his profile? Absolutely not. Do I think it's coincidence that the Mount Crumpet's in his profile and the Grinch has green hair and Patrice is kind of grumpy and Grinchy? Definitely not. But I want to know what you think. So, has any of this information changed your thoughts on Patrice? Do you have theories? Do you think I'm just wrong? Well, leave it in the comments. But let's try to keep it a little nicer than Patrice's Friend Me More page, huh? Well, that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed it and you want to support the channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you're already doing those things, both Rob and myself sincerely thank you. It means a lot. Until the next episode, stay curious out there.